There was seemingly no limit to how many mock drafts I could have done on this channel. And after a while, as I'm sure you guys were getting sick of it, I was getting sick of it. Sometimes I hate to hear myself yap and yap and yap about the same damn thing. So what I did yesterday was that I ended up taking to X and I asked my X following to submit their mock drafts so we could discuss and sort of have a broader scope on what Bills Mafia wants from the Buffalo Bills in the NFL draft season, which, might I say, is just 2 days away. And on today's episode of the Don Mafia Report, we are going to be reacting to everything that was submitted to me. So fasten your seatbelts, folks. Welcome to another edition. And I have to say, thank you for 40,000 subscribers. That is absolutely insane, folks. Absolutely insane. Yesterday, so I think that we were at about 39,300 at some point, and I had a pretty good feeling that we would have surpassed 40,000, but might I say, holy hell, we have now been at 40,200 plus people are a part of this community, and I cannot thank you enough for allowing me to achieve this milestone. It's funny because 40,000 subscribers, that was my goal before the regular season in 2025. And lo and behold, we ended up hitting it significantly earlier than initially anticipated. So now the goal, I suppose, is 50,000 before the regular season. And dare I say 100,000 before the end of the 2025 regular season, man. It's absolutely crazy. I could not have gotten here without each and every single one of you. And I sincerely appreciate it. Folks, as you are coming in, please do me a favor, smash that like button. It is the easiest way to show love on this channel. It's how I surpassed 40,000 subscribers, is by all of you smashing the like button. So you can just go out and say that you helped me reach this milestone, because what it does is it propels it out to the YouTube algorithm where more hungry Bills fans are able to find the show and react to it. And when you subscribe, make sure you turn on bell notifications so you never miss an episode. Shout out to the chat. I'm seeing a lot of people here. I'm finally a part of the 30 club, but still get called a baby. Happy 30th birthday, my friend. Happy 30th birthday, man. I'm 33. I'm going to be 34 in July. It's not that bad, man. As long as you're taking care of yourself, as long as you're exercising appropriately, you know, like you're getting out and you're getting some air or touching grass, as the kids say, you feel pretty good. I really don't feel any difference. And so, to be honest with you, from my high 20s into my low 30s, so zero questions asked. We have Bills Mafia Sports, well-deserved. We love the content. Keep it up, brother. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. But anyway, we have a topic to discuss today, folks, and that was all of the submissions that were sent over to me via X. And guys, say, for example, that you want to be a part of some of these special episodes where I end up really just reacting to the gallery of Bills Mafia that would like to be a part of the conversation and or have me react to anything, right? Like, I'm more than likely going to be looking at draft grades once we finally have a good understanding of what players actually do become a part of the Buffalo Bills. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. The first mock draft submitted was from Bills Muse. Shout out Bills Muse. Great X account to follow over here. 30th overall pick, he has Malachi Starks falling to the Buffalo Bills. And surprisingly enough, as many of you guys know, I am not one to shame a specific position in any which round, because I genuinely believe that you need to take a best player available. That's the winning strategy, if you will. And if there's a world where Malachi Starks falls to the 30th overall pick, you're damn right he is the best player available right there. Say that Kenneth Grant is sitting there, then that's an entire different conversation, but I would not be upset with a Malachi Starks. He then followed up with Alfred Collins with the 56th overall pick. And so, as many of us know, he really fits the mold of a nose tackle, a one-tech defensive tackle. I think this is a scheme fit. And then you also have Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Not the biggest fan of this one. And so of course, respectfully here, like what the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, are looking for, and I hate to focus on one specific strength at any prospect, but I need some speed here. right? Like, I need some speed. Trey Harris is decently fast, but he's more known for his route running capabilities. I feel like that we probably could have went with somebody that brings a bit more speed on the outside. Uh, Trey Harris for me isn't necessarily a scheme fit. Like, he reminds me quite a bit of like a Khalil Shakir, but rather he would be on the outside. Not terrible. Have Kyle Kennard, edge rusher out of South Carolina. That is a 4th-round pick. It doesn't look like he was able to finesse into the 3rd, which is completely fine. We have Zy Alexander. So waited on the cornerback until the 4th round. This guy has some developmental things that need to be addressed. I'm not sure if maybe he was just really hoping that Trey White can take a really good step and we can just address corner the following season. And then afterwards, a couple of other guys. I do like the Dante Thornton wide receiver, though, at the end. It does make up for the Trey Harris pick at 62 for me. And then Dylan Gabriel with our 6th-round pick right then and there. I don't believe that we need a quarterback at all because, number one, you have Mitchell Trubisky right on the roster. He is under contract currently. And then also, you do have Mike White on the practice squad. We would simply just be drafting Dylan Gabriel to be on our practice squad, and he more than likely would be plucked off at any given moment. So that is the first. I'd probably have to give this one a C+, instead, to be honest with you. No disrespect here, Bills Muse. I'm trying to be as fair as possible when I end up giving my grades. By the way, guys, in case any of you do want to be a part of any of these episodes, how I react to all of your stuff is just following me over on X at Real Dan Mitchell. Go on ahead and knock it out. TJ has just come in with his mock draft and another Malachi Starks sitting at the 30. Again, I don't hate this pick. Have to go with the winning strategy of best player available. And it would be very difficult for me to find a player that would be better than Malachi Starks if, of course, he falls to 30. But that, of course, is a conversation by itself. Walter Nolan, where he ended up trading up slightly, it appears. I'm not a big fan of Walter Nolan. And not that he's not a good player. He's a tremendous player. However, he's a 3-tech. And we have a 3-tech, and that's Ed Oliver. And he has proven that he has been exceptional at the position as long as you have a 1-tech defensive tackle to open him up. We need a big body, like run stopper. And I don't think that Walter Nolan has the size specifically that we are looking for here. Say, for example, that this were to be so replaced, like with a Tyleik Williams, perhaps, or a Darius Alexander, then that certainly makes a bit more sense to me. But Walter Nolan, I'm not particularly on board with him. Not that he's a bad player. He's going to be excellent in the NFL, but he's just not a scheme fit for us. And I don't want to ask the player to play a position that he is not very comfortable with, right? Like, have him just be our run stopper when you know internally he wants to be that 3-tech guy that's going after the QB. Like, we need somebody that draws double teams and then maybe can give us a couple of things here and there. You have Trey Harris out of Mississippi. Same thing here. I mean, I suppose I'm okay with it. He's not my favorite wide receiver prospect. Again, I do really want some speed here. I love CJ West, though, from Indiana. This right here makes up for the Walter Nolan pick for me because CJ West is truly a scheme fit. He is a nose tackle. He is your run stopper. He is a big body guy. I'm cool with it. Zy Alexander, I wish that we would have went with a corner a bit earlier. A lot of quality players in the early 2nd round, even toward the late 2nd round. And Upton Stout, CB out of Western Kentucky, who is more of a slot corner. While I think that it might be important to find somebody on a depth perspective for Taron Johnson, I'm not sure if this draft class is the place to address that. So that's me. And then Ty Felton, wide receiver, very fast. It does make up for the Trey Harris situation. And then Luke Kandra, bonus points for going for interior offensive line, TJ. Because as many of us know, it is a sneaky pick for the Buffalo Bills right there. I'd probably give this one, it's the same as the last mock draft we went after. So I'll give the same one, C+ for TJ right there. I'm loving it. All right. Next up, we have Jason, the Bills fan from Scotland. Wow. The homie went crazy. For the first selection, 30th overall, he selects Alex Mastromano, punter out of Florida State. 56th overall, he takes Kai Kroger, punter out of South Carolina. 62 overall, Jesse Micro, punter out of Vanderbilt. 109th overall, Mark Vassett, punter out of Colorado. Luke from Oklahoma, a punter. Brandon Hall, punter out of... Wow. All right. So, folks, we are currently looking at 6 straight punters. And then afterwards, we end up selecting a couple of other players right there. That is just beautiful. It is an A+. I'm just kidding. F-. But I like what you did there. I do like what you did there. What does the chat have to say about some of these things? And with XL Put is coming on and saying, LOL. Nah. Look at that. Anyway. All right. So we have the next one from Justin Caesar has come in. And it appears that he was a bit interesting. And shout out to the guy. Shout out to the homie. Because not only did he find his way into the 3rd round, he also ended up trading down in the 1st. And somehow we ended up selecting, or finding at least, 3 second-round picks. Absolutely insane. This right here is a masterpiece, and I haven't even looked at the picks as of yet. Starting off with Derek Harmon, 33. I feel like a lot of us know how I think about like Derek Harmon. I don't think that he's a scheme fit. I don't. He's more of a 3-tech rate, in my opinion. Doesn't fit with what I think the Buffalo Bills are looking for, but who knows? Next up, you have Benjamin Morrison. Love Benjamin Morrison, right? Solid player. However, he did go under hip surgery. Still a lot left to be brought to the table to see if he can potentially come and sort of progress through his recovery period. So there is concern there, but I do like it. And then Xavier Watts, right? Safety out of Notre Dame, solid ball hawk, a coverage safety of who we were looking for. So not bad, not bad. And then afterwards, we end up going with JT out of Ohio State from the edge position, a Joshua Farmer as a double dip candidate for the defensive line. I am cool with that. You have Isaiah Bond, wide receiver out of Texas. As many of us know, he is currently going through some legal troubles. So I do see him falling quite a bit. 4th round, I suppose that he does end up fitting. He fits, right? As far as what sort of wide receiver I think that we're looking for. And then Jared Ivey, an edge rusher out of Mississippi. And then Sean Dolak, linebacker out of Buffalo. I'm going to have to give this one, let's say a solid B. A solid B on this one. He double dipped at the defensive tackle position. He double dipped at the edge position and ended up going with our 2 out of 3 most needed positions at the beginning, although I'm not a big fan of Harmon, but a B. Solid. I suppose I'd be okay with this. Corey in Colorado. Woo! All right, man. Ooh. Shout out Corey in Colorado. Dude has been listening to my podcast on a regular basis. It's clear. It's clear because I am seeing some names that are really speaking to me right now. We have Malachi Starks, 30th overall, and apparently that man has been falling significantly on draft boards. This is the 5th mock draft I have seen where somehow he has fallen to 30. Followed up by Trey Amos at 56. Followed up by Darius Alexander, 62. Back to back to back, we have 3 positions of need, 3 day 1 starters, if you were to ask me. And then you go Olu and the Oladejo. 4th round pick. Somehow we ended up not getting into the 3rd round, but say that works out that way, and that's our 4th selection in the 4th round. I'm feeling pretty damn good. Followed by a Kyle Williams at 132. As many of you know, he's one of my favorite wide receivers in the mid rounds. He's an absolute terror when it comes into press man coverage. His route tree is through the roof. Great hands, solid speed on the outside. He's a true X guy. He's not a wide receiver that played predominantly slot and we're hoping can transition over to the X position. He's a perfect fit. I love Kyle Williams, and if somehow he makes it to the Buffalo Bills, I am going to be ecstatic. And no, it has nothing to do with the fact that he shares the name of legendary defensive tackle Kyle Williams. I love his game. Have Ty Felton at 169, double dipping at wide receiver back-to-back. Speedster out of Maryland. Devin Neal, running back out of Kansas, is also a sleeper consideration. Of course, depending on what's going to happen to James Cook, right? I'm not sure about you guys, but as we saw the Buffalo Bills reporting to voluntary OTAs yesterday, as a matter of fact, I didn't see James Cook at all in any of the promo videos. That could mean nothing. It is voluntary after all, but it sounds like he's going to play. Maybe Buffalo moves on from him and we try and find some sort of replacement on the depth chart. But say that happens, Devin Neal would be okay. Have Zy Alexander as a CB. I'm fine as long as we draft him, but he is our double dip candidate. He's not the first corner taken off of the board. Mitchell Evans, a tight end out of Notre Dame. Intriguing. Like maybe we're trying to plan for the future that Dawson Knox is not going to be a part of this team next year. Who knows? And then Tyler Barron, edge rusher out of Miami. Corey in Colorado, as far as finding diamonds in the rough, like no trade ups, no trade downs. I love this one. In fact, I feel like I'm going to be giving this one an A-. Very happy Corey in Colorado. And guys, again, right? These are just my subjective grades. All right. What the hell do I know? All I am doing is just giving you my takes on how I think these mock drafts are coming into fruition. Some people may agree with you. Some people may not. Let's lock into it. All right. Gerard came in. What up, Gerard? Hope all is well. I sincerely appreciate your contribution. He started off with Tyleek Williams with the 30th overall pick, right? And it looks like we traded down slightly, and we selected Azareye'h Thomas, cornerback out of Florida State. Scheme fit, right? Like he's a zone corner. He's somebody I think that is on the Buffalo Bills radar. He's at like tier 2 as far as my wish list is concerned. So I'm happy with this. And then he selected Olu, who somehow ended up finding his way right into the second round, or the third, rather. And then Deion Walker, a defensive tackle, double dipping at the one tech nose tackle position. Solid player, a lot of hype around him since he was playing his final year in college with an alleged injury. So I'd say the floor is pretty high for him. Then Torrey Hunter, a wide receiver out of Colorado State, who has been getting quite a bit of love, followed by Malachi Moore, safety out of Alabama. CJ West, a defensive tackle, a third defensive tackle. We are triple dipping at the position. I like it. And all of them are scheme fits, by the way, which is ideal. Have a Dylan Gabriel. So again, I don't really see the need for a QB, but here we are. We have Jack Kaiser at linebacker. I'm fine taking a linebacker this late because, again, we run nickel, and we typically only have 2 linebackers out there in the vast majority of formations anyway. So I don't think that it is as much of an immediate need as people are trying to let on that it is. You have Jalen Rivers, offensive tackle out of Miami. Have Isaiah Bond, wide receiver at 173. And then Tim Smith, defensive tackle out of Alabama. I think a solid B is going to have to be associated with our good friend over here. Somehow I lost where we were. There you go. Let's lock this in. Jason, Justin, Corey, Gerard. Okay. Rip Tie has come in, man. Shout out to Rip Tie. Thank you for your submission. Folks, guys, by the way, as you're coming in, please do me a favor, smash that like button. And if you are listening on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts, if you are enjoying the show, please make sure you leave me a rating and review. Helps me out tremendously. And also come find me on YouTube in case you want to be a part of our live chat community. Because once I'm done reacting to some of these mock drafts, I'm going to shift over to my live chat where they take control of the conversation. And you can have an opportunity of getting your question and or your statement read live on air Monday through Friday. Next one up, he says, perfect situation if Kenneth Grant falls to 30. Trade 56 and a late rounder to get Siobhan Revelle. Trade 109 and the late rounder to get Isaiah Bond. All right, listen. So we're walking away right now with just a couple of picks, right? And we have heard this on the show. While Brandon Beane defied all odds because we didn't think that he'd walk away with 10 picks last year, it's even harder to admit that he could do it again this year, right? Because realistically, how many roster spots are available for the Buffalo Bills this year? I would say 5 to 6. What's the point of selecting somebody that we know is going to be on the practice squad? But this, we just ultimately end up walking away with 5 selections. And those 5 selections are Kenneth Grant, as many of you know. He's my personal favorite. In fact, I already have his Buffalo Bills jersey in my Bill store cart ready to go. I am just waiting for his number to be so revealed. Love Kenneth Grant. He is the perfect fit for me. And any mock draft that I see Kenneth Grant's name, you are definitely brown nosing. But next up, 52nd overall, Siobhan Revelle Jr. As many of you know, he's my favorite corner in this draft. He's coming off of an injury, but I do think Trey White would be able to hold down the fort until this guy can recover, number one, and then also ramp up when we need him to. Solid player. Have Landon Jackson, edge rusher out of Arkansas, who is also a need for us. Have Isaiah Bond, wide receiver out of Texas, speedster on the outside. And then also Billy Bowman, safety out of Oklahoma, who is also a name that really intrigues me. I'm going to give this one a B. Solid situation. FG has come in with his mock draft. Shout out to FG for making a submission here. Guys, pause 1 second for me. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, we have FG has come in and said Kenneth Grant with the 40th overall pick. They had Kenneth Grant falling all the way to the second round, which is insane. It sounds like that we ended up making a slight trade down. I'm very happy about that. 56th overall, you go JT out of Ohio State. 62nd overall, you take Maxwell Hairston. Speedster CB, I'm very happy about it. Kyle Williams and Billy Bowman. I know my boy FG has been watching my show too, because he has listed 4 of my favorite players in this draft by itself. Have a tight end out of Syracuse, which is also interesting. A linebacker out of Ohio State. A J.J. Puigs, a defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, who also has chops at the fullback position, which makes it even more interesting. And Za Frazier as well, who is a double-dip cornerback position. Pretty damn crazy, if you ask me. FG, he puts in another one. Same thing, but I'll tell you what, low-key, I'm happy about this one as well. You have Kenneth Grant. You have Donovan Ezeruku, one of the best edge rushers in this draft. I've seen him go in the first a couple of times, though. But say that he can fall to the second round, sign me up. Absolute menace. You have TJ Sanders, a defensive tackle out of South Carolina, double dipping at the position with Kenneth Grant. I love that strategy. A Dorian Strong out of Virginia Tech. Torrey Horton, wide receiver out of Colorado State. And then Jalen Reed, a safety out of Penn State. And then you end up wrapping it up with a couple of other selections for futures. Love this one too, but I'll probably give that a B-. Braden Bean season. Shout out Nick the Crow, who has come in on X and submitted this one. Started off with Luther Burden III, man, wide receiver out of Missouri. So I got to tell you what. So a couple of things on Luther Burden III that scares me, right? So number one, he has a reputation of being a diva, right? Last couple of games of his collegiate career, he was kind of throwing a tantrum. He was upset about his utilization and almost appeared to give up on the team. Number two, he's a slot guy, right? So dude's a slot guy. Like, his production is still there. Like, don't look at his numbers from 2023 to 2024 because his numbers were significantly worse in 2024 than 2023. But the reason behind that is that his targets took a significant drop. His advanced metrics were still aligned with what he did the year previously. The problem with Luther Burden for me is that he started off his career as an X receiver out on the outside. His numbers were nothing to sneeze at, right? Then Missouri moved him over to the slot, and he excelled. He was an absolute menace out of the slot, and that is what made him a first-round selection, potentially. Us drafting Luther Burden III, I think the signs are already there. Like, they ended up moving over Luther Burden III to the slot position because they had to, because he wasn't effective on the outside. I think that if we draft Luther Burden III, we're going to have to put him on the outside, and I think that it's going to be something that we sort of grow to regret. Not a big fan of Luther Burden. Solid player. I'm sure he will be a great piece to whatever team decides to add him. However, I don't think he's a scheme fit for the Buffalo Bills. Give me a true X wide receiver, somebody with the experience, somebody that has statistically proven that they can excel on the outside. I'm going to have to pass on Luther. Love Azaria Thomas. Love TJ Sanders. Have a Tyler Barron edge rusher out of Miami at 109. Jalen Reed, safety out of Penn State. You have Powell, edge rusher out of Virginia Tech. Nick Nash out of San Jose State. A Mitchell Evans out of Notre Dame. And then a couple of other key pieces that could be added right over here. Respectfully, I'm probably going to have to give this one a C minus. Respectfully. Don't like the wide receiver selection. I love Desarier Thomas. And then Sanders is intriguing, I suppose. But what I want are day one contributors, day one starters. I don't want any room for development, right? That's kind of where we're at. We have Cooked by Allen has come in. He has selected quite a few. For us right now. Let's talk about it. All right, so we had the Buffalo Bills moving up for Matthew Golden all the way up to the 20th selection, folks. All right, so that means that we still have no third round pick, and we walked away with one of our second round picks right there. So Matthew Golden, he's fast, right? Like his 40-yard dash was all of the rave across the NFL community, right? 4.29, crazy, whatever, right? He really didn't start to get going in Texas until toward the back half of the season, particularly in the playoffs, right? So a lot of his hype is centralized exclusively off of the underwear Olympics, and that's the NFL Combine for me. I think moving up for Matthew Golden, I don't like that. I do not like moving up for Matthew Golden, right? Because I think there's so many potential wide receivers that we could wait for in the late second, or if we can find our way into the third, or dare I even say the beginning of the fourth round, that we could select that would easily be as much of a contributor to the Buffalo Bills. Because remember, like we are coming off of a season where we put up the most productive offensive season in franchise history with damn Mac Hollins and Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel, who really didn't even get going toward the end of the season by itself. I don't think that the offense is the issue here, as into why we're not getting over the hump. It has everything to do with defensive depth and quality youth on the defensive side of the football. So while Matthew Golden would be interesting, I suppose, if the board were to fall to us, I don't have him as a go up and trade up and go get sort of candidate, especially walking away with a second round pick and then also still not having a third. So we're going to go ahead and knock that out. So I love Desarier Thomas. CJ West at defensive tackle out of Indiana. I see his ceiling. I see his floor. I think he might have made up for it because I do like that prospect. He double dips back-to-back with an Elijah Roberts defensive tackle out of SMU, a Cody Simon linebacker out of Ohio State, a Katon Crawford who excels in coverage. I do like that. Another corner out of Oregon in So Muhammad. And then also a Tyler Batty. It's Cooked by Allen right there. Respectfully, I'm going to have to give this one a D+. Respectfully. Don't like this one. But again, like I said, what the hell does Dan Mitchell know? But luckily, my boy did end up giving us a couple of other mock drafts that we could work with. He starts off with Malachi Starks to the 30th, then Kenneth Grant, 56th overall, and then Jaden Higgins, 62, followed by Kobe Bryant, cornerback, in the 4th round, followed by Jordan Phillips at defensive tackle. So far, it's better than the last one. It's a hell of a lot better than the last one. Love Malachi Starks. Love Kenneth Grant. But will he really fall all the way until 56? That's up for debate, I suppose. With Jaden Higgins, man, not particularly a fan. Like, he's a player, right? Like, he can play. He's probably going to have a good NFL career, a semi-decent one. He doesn't have much of a low center to gravity, right? And that's common for somebody that's as tall as he is. But, like, we need somebody that's, like, wildly athletic. Like, hips don't lie, as Shakira once said. I probably would have went with a different wide receiver there, but that's just me. I love Kobe Bryant as a potential double dip candidate for the cornerback position. But as far as going off and being like, okay, you're our CB2 of the future, I'm not particularly sure if I am okay with it. But I love the double dip with Jordan Phillips out of defensive tackle out of Maryland. He is, again, a scheme fit for us, and you can pair him with Kenneth Grant on the depth chart right there. That is a perfect double dip for the defensive tackle position. Very happy with this one. This one is slightly better. I will give him a C on this one. And then next up, okay, Cooked by Allen 17. Let's talk about it. All right, so we have Emeka Egbuka, 33, 33rd overall. Same thing that applies to Luther Burden for me. He's a slot receiver. Yes, he could be moved out on the outside, but I don't want to like roll the dice on there. Love Kenneth Grant, love TJ Sanders. The Latham Ransom at Ohio State is okay. Have Kennard, have Kobe Bryant, have Jack Kaiser, have Noah Williams. C, I would say I'd probably end up giving this one. And then let's see if I can do one more. One more, and then we'll end up switching over to the live chat to see what everybody else has to say. We're going to go with Cody May. Shout out Cody May for putting in your contribution, man. We appreciate that. All right. Ooh. So I'll tell you what, I like this one. Oh, my God, I love this one. Oh, I do like this one, man. All right. Kenneth Grant, first pick, 30th overall. Sign me up. Not upset with this. Followed by the 56th overall, Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame, as we've already talked about. And then a Princely Umamelan, edge rusher out of Mississippi. An edge rusher I fell in love with at the Senior Bowl, wildly athletic, out of the SEC. Very pleased with this selection, followed by Kyle Williams and then Noah Williams. Noah Williams, surprisingly enough to me, I would be okay with the first corner selected off of the board. I think that he actually would be a quality player in the McDermott's defense. Not so much the same way that I feel about, of course, with Zy Alexander, who is also right on this roster. Noah Williams excels in zone, solid player. I think there's some room for development, but not nearly as long as some other corners we've been seeing in some of these mock drafts. So I'm okay with this. And then, of course, you have a Jaden Blue and a Desmond Watson with an F. Oh, man. They did not like the Desmond Watson pick. He is interesting, but it's just because he's so big. He's like 440 pounds. That's not a good thing, folks. Like, having a defensive tackle that is 440 pounds is not the kind of guy that you can expect to be out there on a regular basis. Like, somebody that is that overweight, right, is not going to have a very high motor. Like, he's going to be out there for, I don't know, situational things here and there, but say that you can expect him to be out there for the entirety of an offensive drive or a defensive drive, I think you're crazy. So that's me. But those, of course, were some of the mock drafts that were submitted over to my X account. Shout out to everybody that was a contributor. Folks, now, this is the time where I end up transitioning over to my live chat. Say, for example, that you are watching the replay of this episode. That's why it's so important to make sure when you subscribe, you also turn on bell notifications so you can be a part of this live Q&A segment. Always want to interact with my audience, see what their thoughts are since the NFL draft is just days away. In fact, Richie and TD are on the way up to Green Bay, Wisconsin right now so that they can cover everything for Roundtable Sports. I am feeling it. Now, I do need to give a giant shout out to today's sponsor. That just so happens to be William Mattar, folks. If you are ever hurt in a car, you better call William Mattar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. I would not wish a car accident on anybody, all right? But say, for example, it does happen. It is imperative to have the correct representation and look no further than my guy, William Mattar. Shout out to William for sponsoring my channel for the 2025 season by itself, man. Shout out to everybody. Guys, as we are shifting right to the Q&A segment, I asked to please begin each and every single question with a Q dash so I can easily decipher between a statement and a question. I'm trying to make sure that I give everybody that is watching the replay of this episode and also people that are perhaps listening on Spotify and or Apple Podcasts where they can easily decipher and have a more quality listening experience. So if you can have a question for me, please do me a favor and begin it with a Q dash so we know exactly where we are going with. Billy K has come in. Billy K, what's up, man? Hope all is well. Dan, and could you please spiel your thoughts on the one player nobody is talking about, Tyler Bass? So I feel like Tyler Bass had a bit of an instance of the yips, right? a time where his confidence really took a hit. He did not necessarily have um so the mental strength to get through that hard time that he went through. It started from the playoff game right against Kansas City where he went wide right. And then it started at the beginning of last season. But then once he ended up hitting that game-winning field goal against the Miami Dolphins, everything seemed perfect for him, right? He's not even that bad, right? Like when you look at statistics for Tyler Bass, statistically, he only struggles in the beginning of the season, and that is in September, right? And then typically, once you start getting into the colder months like November, December, and January, he's about as good as they come. He's still under contract. He had, and so an extension a few years ago. So while I think we might bring in some sort of competition just to fill in some potential spots for training camp, I'm pretty sure he's our guy. It's more of a punter situation where we need to go for. It's more of finding a punter of whether or not that the guy that we ended up bringing in for this offseason, who surprisingly is pretty good on several metrics, is probably going to be okay. So we will see. We have Go Shark 88 has come in with a question. What's up, Go Shark? Hope all is well. Happy Tuesday to you. If we draft Harmon, would you also want us to draft Caldwell? They were good together in Oregon. Probably not, right? Because number one, like we already have a 3 tech, right? And so that's Ed Oliver. So what we truly need is a 1 tech, and Caldwell would fit that bill by itself. But I'm kind of hoping that we stay away from Derek Harmon entirely. Like, yes, his stats to getting to the quarterback are good, right? Like we're like, hell yeah, like it's the interior pressure. Like we want that. But largely the success of a 3 tech has everything to do with the big man next to him at the nose tackle / 1 tech, however you want to define it. And I just see Derek Harmon being a true 3 tech defensive tackle, hence why I don't necessarily see him being a scheme fit for this organization. If, for example, we somehow walk away with Derek Harmon, like maybe the Bills love him and maybe they think that he could fill that role, or maybe they're thinking, hey, you know what? Like we actually want to walk away from Ed Oliver next offseason and he's our guy. Then what I'm going to want is for us to also look for an Alfred Collins or look for a Deion Walker in the 4th and or the 5th round for the 1 tech position, because that's something that we need filled now. While Daquan Jones is under contract for 1 more season, I still think he's going to get his share of snaps this year. Yeah, most definitely. I just don't really see him like right as a scheme fit, but say for some reason, so the Bills really like the guy and they do draft him, I feel like it's more of a sign of what is in the future for Ed Oliver rather than he is our answer to the 1 tech defensive tackle position. That's kind of where I am at. Square has come in with a statement and has said, Dan, rate this top 3 mock. First round, 24th via Shamar Stewart, 256 Benjamin Morrison, 394 Joshua Farmer via Minnesota. Okay, so I do like Shamar Stewart. So I love Ben Morrison and Farmer. Solid, man. Solid, dude. Solid B+. Solid B+. And so I got 2 top 15% PFF A+ from Reagan that's just come in and says, one was Malachi Starks, then an Omar Norman Lott, then Benjamin Morrison. You had the Oladejo, Kyle Williams, had RJ Mickens, Jackson, Tyler Shook, Ty Felton, and Ty Robinson. All right, we will see. Try to get a wide receiver like Matthew Golden or the other wide receiver from Texas Longhorns. Salvador is coming in, man. He's a big Longhorns guy. He's hoping that we can bring in somebody from the University of Texas. I feel you, brother. I feel you. Bass scares me. And so I get shades of Norwood and wide right. So the thing about him is that, say, for example, that we were to walk away from him, he would have a job literally in less than 24 hours. He's not as bad as people want to give him credit for, right? And plus, it does help out, folks, because how many games last season did we really need to rely on Tyler Bass to win for us? 1, maybe 2. so we have a pretty high-powered offense, and when he does have the opportunities, he's typically pretty good outside of a small section of stuff. But yeah, we'll see. Bill 716 has come in and saying, how do you feel about Tyleik Williams, and do you think he'd be a good pick for the Bills' first defensive tackle we would draft? I did a mock and got Revel at 36. I got Tyleik at 46 and Jared Ivey at 71 and CJ West at 88. That would be perfect. That right there, I would be very, very happy with, because Tyleik is probably my second favorite defensive tackle that I think fits exactly what Buffalo is trying to do. So exceptionally happy there. Chat GPT told me that Ty Robinson's NFL comp is Chris Jones. Oh, man, listen. Oh, man. All right. Yo, what's up, Deshaun? How you doing? Hey, Dan, and do you believe when talking about with any player that we want or need to have, we never get in the draft? I'm trying to think of like a player that I did actually really want. Last year, I really wanted Javon Solomon, and we got Javon Solomon, right? I'm trying to think who else that like walked away that I was super happy about. Yeah, it's true, man. It's true. It's all speculation at this point. All right, we have Khalil's come in. He says, if we draft Kenneth Grant and Revel and the Oladejo first 3 picks, and do we pop the Elise? Yes, we do, because that would be an absolutely perfect selection all across the board. We have RM56 is coming and saying, so with Tyleik Williams is exactly who the Bills need. Big anchor and pairs with the pass rush oriented at Oliver, and also has experience with future NFL starting offensive lines. Look, I am just as happy. Say that Kenneth Grant is not the guy, but we do end up walking away with Tyleik Williams. Like, that's the next best case scenario for me. That's the next best case scenario is Tyleik Williams. Have the Oladejo for show. Lock that in. It's Alzay, Dan. Alzay. Yes, we will pop the Alzay, baby. You already know what it is. Damn. And so I like Tyleik, but not at 30. Yeah. And so I feel a bit more comfortable with us trading down a tad for him. That's just me. That's just me. But folks, shorter episode today. And so I just wanted to go on ahead and hop on and thank each and every single one of you for allowing me to get to 40,000 subscribers. Holy hell. Wild shit. It's funny because I did start this channel about 5 years ago, and I never thought that I would ever get this big. It was more of like a hobby, and then fast forward, and now this is my full-time career, and it's all because of you guys. Seriously, y'all end up putting me into your daily routine and listen to me yap about football, and I could not be more thankful. Thank you so much, guys. As a reminder, I am live Monday through Friday, normally at 10 a.m. EST. And then also a reminder, I am going to be live giving you my live draft reaction on Thursday evening and Friday evening, and likely Saturday during the day. Maybe not for the entire time, but I think we have a pretty good idea. So if you're just discovering me, make sure you turn on bell notifications. Make that happen. And yeah, we'll see you a bit later for Roundtable Sports 4th and forever. Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Peace.